Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be viewing this. I'm Doug Cook, and this is the Commuter Services proposal for LDR 551. I first became aware of this situation with a student I was interviewing. They highlighted the disconnect between them and the rest of campus. They felt isolated and uninformed of services and events. Over time, through classwork, I saw the need for improved communication and support for the commuter and non-traditional students and formulated the idea for this proposal. Um, and the goal is to propose a director of post-traditional and commuter engagement. What are the problems that are facing these students? Lack of engagement. Students aren't on campus. Traditional advertising means do not work for them because they are not on campus to see them. Um, they have different challenges that they have to overcome as students. A lot of them work. They have jobs and responsibilities for family, and distance is also another factor for them of getting to and from campus. Managing their time between all of their commitments seems like a constant juggling act. All of this leads to them being socially and academically isolated from the rest of the campus. This impacts student satisfaction and retention greatly. So what matters to these students? Connections matter. Being connected matters. Tinto's departure theory, for the last 50 years, has highlighted the association and the connection between student engagement and persistence. Social integration for this group is critical for this group to succeed. Current engagement approaches on campus overlook these students. They're targeted for the main campus and not our small islands of commuter students dotted throughout the community. Work and distance challenges matter to these students. Employment has a negative impact on their academic performance. Most of these students have either full-time or part-time jobs. They are supporting themselves and their families. Commuting to campus is stressful. Getting up, getting through traffic, getting dressed, finding a place to park, getting to class on time. These are all additional stresses that this group suffers from. Fatigue of just the constant grind of back and forth to campus uh, will lead them to make choices to not attend extracurricular groups, activities, study sessions. These are all missed opportunities for socialization and academic advancement, furthering their isolation from this campus. All of these combined and lead to a lower retention level in GPA for these students. Progress matters. These students sacrifice so much from time from family and work commitments to go back to school. When they have to drop out of a class because of time constraints, or they have to retake a class because their grade in the class wasn't high enough, it takes that light at the end of the tunnel even further. Delayed progression leads to dropping out, regardless of GPA. Studies have shown that students who have good GPAs still factor in the time of completion and progress into dropping out. So students that are getting good grades still will drop out of programs. So this means we have to ensure that the timely credit accumulation for these students is kept on track. That we do this by having programs structured to support their academic progress. Why combine post-traditional and commuter students? They share very many of the same challenges. They share more and they have more in common than they do with traditional students that are residential and living on campus. They have similar stress, time management, and work commitments. Both groups are underserved and disconnected from campus life. And this highlights the importance of creating specific programs tailored to their needs. So what is the solution? Well, my proposed solution is the creation of a director of post-traditional and commuter engagement. This person would serve as a central contact point and advocate for these students. They would coordinate programs and events to further the connection that these students have to campus and each other. They would need to focus on improving student satisfaction, and all of these factor into in student retention. Would this position be responsible for creating and maintaining? The first would be a post-traditional commuter council. This would be an elected student group with a president. There would be a selected member of the council who would serve as a representative to the Student Government Association. The second program would be the creation of a community classroom seminar. This would take place the place of the freshman or first year seminar. This would be designed for commuters and post-traditional students. Tinto had a study where he created a group of commuters to where their community wasn't on campus. So his concept was classrooms through communities, and this would be very similar, that they would go through these program together, these classes, and that would help to create a sense of community among their classmates who have very similar needs and issues. So these would all have to focus on the flexible schedules and that these students need, and have multiple online resources. Promotion of services, targeted outreach. How are we getting the word out to this group, which is traditionally isolated and hard to reach? Social media, emails, informational sessions, all of these things would help to communicate and get the word out about this group, and also traditional mailings. One of the things that I found through my interview was that actual mail in your mailbox from your campus is somewhat of a novelty now, whereas in past you used to have to rifle through all of your junk mail. Now that is not as it's more of an uncommon occurrence. So this would also be another way to reach this group. Creating welcoming spaces on campus for commuter students, to have commuter lounges or commuter places where they can go to study, and lockers that they could put their stuff in, so they're not carrying every book that they need for their whole day in their on their bodies in a backpack. This group would be able to have a place where they could go and relax between classes, to eat lunch, to where they are together and they're creating their own sense of community between their peers. Continuous feedback to the director and to the PTC council would be key to having other successes, other issues that these students have that could be brought to light and solved. Organizational structure and staffing. The director would report to the executive director of student engagement. Initial staffing would be to share the administrative assistant of this office and to have 2 work study students assigned to it. Obviously, this would require the director to employ a very student-driven leadership model. Budget and funding, including the salary of the director, which I estimated to be the university standard of $52,500. Programming budgets and outreach programs would total through to $127,500. This would be very performance-based budget in the first 5 years of releasing funds that are set up in incremental accomplishments of goals that will be set up between the vice president, of student engagement and the executive director of student engagement that would be set for this position. Incremental budgeting after the first 5 years, this program should be in full swing. You can allow for budgets to be accounted for and predicted more reliably. What challenges and solutions did I identify to implementing this director's position? The first would be awareness. As I've mentioned numerous times, this is a hard to reach, isolated group. Solutions that work for traditional students won't work for these students. So we have to look for social media integration, direct targeted advertisement to these students specifically through emails and phone calls and traditional mailings. Uh, to get the word out, to have meetups that at the set aside commuter spaces on campus. Those would all help to raise awareness. The second hurdle to overcome would be redundancy, resistance from some administrators to say, "Hey, we already have a executive director of student engagement. Why do we need a director for this group of students?" And I would look to the example set by the director of Greek life that is a very specific needs group that has shown very much success on campus while having a dedicated administrator to their group. I have also set this up to be a very slow and performance-based incremental initiation. So over time, if there is resistance, you can show your successes and say, this is why this budget has expanded because we now have this group of people and our retention for these students have went up by X amount percent. So you will earn your place and counteract any of those thoughts or expressions of redundancy for resistance from our staff and administration. The final one would be funding. Money is tight. And so, why does this program deserve any more money on it than any other need on campus? And I would say you would need to look at the actual studies that are highlighted in my written proposal, but to show that this is a problem for our campus, that this shows working towards this and addressing this has benefits of persistence and retention of these students to complete their programs. So we also look at the way that the office is staffed by sharing the administrative assistants. We're not creating a new position initially. Eventually down the road, that could happen as programs expand. But to start off, we are being very money conscientious by that and using federal work study for manpower to address labor issues. So we are doing this in a financially responsible way uh, on the cheap. So those would be how I would address those issues for anyone bringing them up. So in conclusion, I thank you for watching and listening to my presentation. I hope I've adequately highlighted the needs of this group and justified the creation of this position and why it is important to the success of the university. And once again, it would hope to enhance retention satisfaction and academic success of commuter and post-traditional students. Thank you.